What is up, everybody? Welcome to, I guess, a very special new version of Viall Files. I'm joined by my producer, Rochelle, and sidekick producer,
I'm really just your pal.
Just my pal?
Just
my
pal
friend?
Your pal Shug chiming in. Thank you so much for having me back to visit.
Having you back. You're kind of a mainstay. As long you're here as you want to be. Oh, Shug might quit.
Shug complained she's not getting enough hugs from Nick, so that's got to change.
That is true.
We've hugged once.
What about my touch? Do you enjoy it?
I love your touch. I need it.
We listen, we love having conversations and discussions and sometimes debates.
This is a debate heavy episode.
We had some really great calls.
Yeah, we did. It got heated.
Shug's still heated.
Well, listen, I get heated. I don't know what to tell you. As soon as I call myself a hood rat on a conversation, which is coming up, I can't wait for you to hear it. You know that I've crossed over.
But Nick does a lot of, answers a lot of questions on his Instagram. Is there any theme that you're seeing lately?
I mean, the overwhelming thing has always been this, the expectations the difference of expectations men and women have about dating and sex. A lot, specifically, we have a predominantly women audience in terms of the expectation of women feeling like they're supposed to, trying to get a guy to like them. And then within those confines of trying to get a guy to like them before they even figure out whether they like a guy.
Yeah.
Is what do I need to do for him in bed or blah, 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 blah. If I don't do this, will he get mad or not like me? All these things that a lot of, again, women are doing. Men have their own, we are confused too. And there's things that women can help us out with things too. But, men always need to do a better job. But I would like to see, the more conversations having and women not feel like in this expectation. We have a caller coming up about a guy not getting off. Is it her job? Is it not her job? Why does she feel this burden? This weird, but that comes from our society of sex and dating over the years of what is expected of men in a relationship and what is expected of women. And hopefully in a lot of the stuff we do from these future episodes is kind of breaking down those barriers. And we'll get into obviously family dynamics as we do. I think the important part, and I want to say this, and we've said this earlier when we started Viall Files, this is not about right or wrong, This is about having conversations and difference of opinions. And sometimes healthy debates lead you to a place of enlightenment and understanding each other. And sometimes that comes with, when you talk about things that are passionate, that you're passionate about, emotions come out, you get defensive, you get energetic. And sometimes people mistake that from not wanting to learn and understanding. And sometimes getting those emotions raised will discourage people from having those conversations. And I think what this show, especially this segment and this thing that's going to be dropping every Monday now, is about being willing to have these conversations. And most of these are lighthearted, but sometimes having these tough conversations and debates and answering questions and sharing life experiences so that we all become more aware of how we can better understand each other.
Yeah.
I think that's our ultimate goal.
Yeah, it's lovely.
And that's just what we're trying to do. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. And without further ado, we'll start answering some fan questions.
Time for Nick to sell you things you really need, but you don't own yet.
That's right. And we're kicking things off with, I actually think this is really cool. It's relatable.
Yes.
In the sense that we talk about promo codes a lot on this show.
Yeah, we do.
Do we not?
Honey. If you don't have it.
Save you money.
Ooh. Did you just come up with that?
I did. I did indeed.
You are good at slogans.
Tell me about Honey, Rochelle.
It's a free download and it auto-populates those coupon codes that you search the internet looking for. Yeah.
So anytime you're like, oh, is there a promo code available?
Right.
How much can I save?
Yeah.
What's the promo code I should best use? Honey.
Does it
get you to save some money?
Oh, honey.
It's great. I mean, for all the promo codes we've put out there about natural habits, there are some still active. It is amazing. Yeah. So wait, it's Honey has saved its 10 million members. 10 million people are already using it.
Yeah.
An average of $28.61 per sale.
Wow. That you save?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Like if you don't have this, you should be downloading it
There's
right
no
now.
reason not
There's
to
no
have
reason.
It. There's literally no reason
Yeah.
not to have it.
I always shop online, and I was shopping at J. Crew. I love J. Crew, and I saved $10 automatically because I had honey. I was like, why haven't I had this before?
They find discount codes and coupons across 37,000 sites: Amazon, Sephora, Best Buy, Nordstrom's, and more.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really incredible.
Yeah.
Some things make too much sense.
Exactly.
Look, there's really no reason not to use honey, as we've talked about. It's free to use and easy to install on your computer in just 2 clicks. So shop with confidence. Get honey for free at joinhoney.com/Viall. That's joinhoney.com/VIALL. Honey, the smart shopping assistant that saves you time and money when you're shopping online. HelloFresh. HelloFresh is great.
It's awesome. I never cook, and it got me cooking, and for that, I give it props.
Shug had got her HelloFresh, and she kept calling me up and telling me how
She
she's
did?
just jacked and amazed, and she's just like, "Oh, this is amazing!" It is. It's very easy to use, easy to follow. That you get an entire meal.
I ordered mine for 2.
Well, yeah, you can change the quantity.
Yeah.
And they have all different diets, and it's like easy to make. And
I made
simple
a
instructions, and
pork. Is it called bibimbap?
I don't.
With rice, and it was so good, so tasty. I think it gave me some self-confidence.
What about it?
Just because I made it.
Really?
Yeah, because I'm a terrible cook.
I mean, I like to cook, so I also still found it very easy and convenient and nice.
Yes.
So, but that's cool that someone who can't cook feels like they're now.
I was like, I should have invited a date over.
Wolfgang Puck over here.
Yeah, just call me.
Wow. Well, for $80 off your first month of HelloFresh, go to hellofresh.com/VIALL80 and enter code VIALL80. Again, that's hellofresh.com/VIALL80 and enter code VIALL80. It's like getting 8 meals free.
I mean, come on, people.
Who doesn't like 8 meals for free?
Yum, yum, yum.
No one's going home hungry with HelloFresh.
You come up with that too?
Yeah.
Now go buy the stuff.
Hi, Noelle. How are you?
Hi. I'm good. How are you?
Good. We have
Hi.
Shug here as well. Rochelle is in the room with us.
Hello. Hi.
Hi.
How can we help you, Noelle?
Okay, so I emailed yesterday, I think, and I had a really long dry spell and started seeing this guy a few weeks ago. And at first I thought he was like friend zoning me because he didn't make a move at all. But now we're past that, and he's been really good about getting me off, but I'm not really doing very well at reciprocating that. And that's kind of first for me.
What a thoughtful person.
Wait, Rochelle, why are you laughing? Why are you two laughing?
I'm
Because
not laughing.
I like the matter of fact way she says
No,
it.
it's great. I was like, you're so thoughtful. I just want to hug her. All right, go ahead.
Okay, so yeah, but that's just never really been an issue for me. Like usually it's been me finishing people and not really getting anything out of things myself. So it's kind of like the opposite of what I'm used to. And I'm sure I'll figure that out, but I kind of feel like just a little weird about it. Like I owe him something every time. And I'm trying to navigate that. And then I think my other half to that question was that we're kind of on different levels. He just got out of like a long relationship and I have been single for a while.
Okay.
And every time I start seeing someone I like, it's kind of like I get too lazy to start seeing anyone else, and I'm scared I'll get like attached and not have that be the same for them, I guess.
Okay.
Very clear.
Yeah.
This is great. Couple thoughts I had. I had a thought and then I lost it. I'll get it back though. In terms of, well, one, we had our last caller too. Like, listen, there's a lot of stereotypes with men and women in sex, right? And stereotypes are often stereotypes because there's truth in them, and that's why they become stereotypes. But there's exceptions to all these rules. How old is this guy, by the way?
22.
Okay, super young. Because I was like maybe he's just like 40 and just takes a minute, you know. I do think there is this standard that men always have to climax in a sexual experience for them to enjoy it. that is not true. As a guy, I can tell you that's just not the case, right? It's also not your job as a woman in the room to get him off. Like, he's your partner in a sexual experience, and hopefully that happens, but that doesn't, you're not always going to bat 1,000, right? 22, super young, horny guy, you'd think he'd just like be coming all over the place all the time, but who knows? Like, maybe the first, like, seriously, maybe the first couple times he hooked up with you, he masturbated right before, right? And now it's just like the little less gas in the tank, and it's a little harder. It takes, maybe he, how long has he been broken up with his girlfriend?
Like 2 months maybe.
Oh, okay. How long did he date her for?
Like 3 years.
Was it like his first and only relationship?
I think he had like another long-term one before that. So yeah, I don't think
before that, but he's only like, okay, but he was 18. So I'm going to safely assume probably that 95% of everything he knows about sex and intimacy comes from this last girlfriend. And what you are is just different. You're not better. You're not worse. You're just different. And I can assure that when I wasn't having a lot of sex early, like I had a very serious girlfriend, and in between a few breakups, it was hard for me to move on. And when I finally did and I was intimate, it was just so weird. It was just like I was in my head the whole time about just like it felt wrong. It felt like you're broken up, but like it felt like, is this okay? All I'm saying is probably in his head a lot. And there's just a lot of reasons why a guy might not climax, and it has nothing really to do with you. So I wouldn't take it personally. And I also would just stop assuming that it's your job and that a guy always has to climax to enjoy sex.
Yeah. That's like the thing. It's like always felt like that kind of, and now it's not. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I don't know how this works.
It feels sometimes like a new concept that women are allowed to just enjoy and get off and they don't have to service the man. I think that's a pretty new idea.
It's wild that it's so but I will say as a guy, sometimes it's almost, again, not to say that men have been somehow, but like the double standard, although for the most part, this double standard has put women have been suffering from this double standard, but at the same time, this double standard, then the men didn't feel the pressure of it, right? Because it has this kind of counter reverse effect of, well, I'm supposed to get you off, and so why aren't you getting off? And what can I do? Because if you don't get off, then is it me? Is it just something? Is it the way I look or whatever? And then the guy's like, no, I mean, I don't know. What do you want me to say? Is my dick not working? It becomes this stressful situation. So all I'm saying is sometimes it's just okay. And if he's just like, no, it's fine. I'm not going to right now. That's fine. It's totally cool. Totally nothing to do with you, most likely. Especially if he comes back for more. I guess if you guys hook up and you never hear from him again, hey, maybe he wasn't into you, but so what? But if you've been hanging out with this guy, I would just let go of this assumption that it's your job and you need to get him off all the time. And if he doesn't, he's not enjoying it, because he probably still is.
Is he upset about it at all? Or do you talk about it in the moment? Is it like oh God, I can't come, or like, I'm sorry? Like, is there apologies going on in the moment?
No, it's kind of like the first time it was like, yeah, I'm just kind of nervous with new people. And then it was like, I can't, like my roommate can hear us. And
he's not lying. He's definitely nervous. You're new. His ex-girlfriend, and this is not, I wouldn't feel insecure about this at all. Like, that's all he knows. And that's all he's thought about. And he's young. So, and then, so what? Like when you start dating, maybe at 15, 16, 14 at the earliest. So you think about that. He's 22, 6, 7 years, 3 years. That's 50%. Half of his basically 100% of his dating life has been one person. And so it's just a process. And so it's definitely not you. I'd give it some time. As far as you, like having that self-awareness to like just latch on, I think it would behoove you to like remind you that he's going to take some time. So like, that's good for you to just let it breathe, doesn't mean you have to start dating other people, but like,
just continue to do other stuff.
Yeah. Just do other stuff.
Make sure that you maintain your space and enjoy your hobbies and activities and your work and all of that stuff. I think that really truly helps us as women and men the same, to not put all of our interest balls into one bucket.
And as young people,
Yeah.
and I talk about this a lot, is as you get older, you'll have more experiences and you'll become more critical. And it's very common that when I was younger, you meet someone, you like them, you're like, fuck it, let's date. You know, if you're not in a committed relationship with this guy and he needs some time, I encourage you to go on a date with another guy. You know, if the opportunity arises, like, don't get 5 dating apps and like start going on a bunch of dates, but like
Alrighty.
make yourself available and
keep shopping, girl.
keep shopping. And if he's the one you should date, he will only get better and better.
Totally.
But you might realize that maybe this was just the first guy you liked after a dry spell. I mean, Shug had a dry spell for like a year, and like, you know, I thought she for like a couple of days, I thought she was just gonna fuck anything in sight, you know? So
it came back strong.
It came back real strong.
It was gradual. And then I was like ready to, you know, I was going to go to jail for what I was intending to do to some people.
So yeah, that's just what I would do. I mean, it sounds like you're confident in your game,
great,
so to speak.
Really? Yeah.
I am, yeah.
Yeah. And ask him questions. Ask him what he likes. Ask him what he's into, you know?
Have him masturbate in front of you. That's what Emily
Wow,
said. That was not my
Rochelle
idea.
jumped
Sex
in,
with
Rochelle.
Emily.
I don't discourage that. I think, yeah.
Have
totally.
you ever seen him come? Has he ever come?
No, but it's only been like 3 times.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I dated a guy for a while, and you know, like a few months in, he was like, "I just don't do it all the time," and I was like,
Yeah.
not for me. I needed
Sure.
more."
Ask if-
fireworks.
Listen, so just to sum up, right now, I wouldn't make a big deal about it at all. I really wouldn't. I would just kind of like, if you want to keep hanging out with him, let it go. If you keep hanging out with this guy and like say a couple months later, we're still having this bit of an issue, then I think it's okay to ask questions like, is he masturbating all the time? I don't know. Is he... Ask him what he likes. I mean, I think it's safe now if you keep having sex, start asking what he likes, but give it time. Don't make him feel pressured. Making him anxious about it and pressure to come is only going to make it harder for him to come.
It does. It really, like when Nick breaks down the timeline and you know, the experience with the last girlfriend, it all feels very genuinely on course and pretty normal. And yeah.
Yeah, I would, I'd just give it some time and just suss it out. Meanwhile, keep dating. Eventually ask more questions. Maybe have him masturbate in front of you, as Rochelle said. That's great. Just make him feel comfortable. Like women need to feel comfortable in sex, but so do men. And and when you're in a relationship, it's just all about communication and talking and making each other feel comfortable. And when you are comfortable, you can be freaks and come all the time.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. We've done pretty well with that, but we'll keep trying and everything.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
All right. Thanks for your time.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
That was great. Yeah, it's funny because I do think we talk about this a lot in terms of people not talking. It's just men are definitely more guilty of not being thoughtful in terms of what a woman needs.
I just think you guys probably weren't taught to for so long.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I don't know. I can honestly say I've never experienced that. And I go back to the story of someone telling me early on.
Your origin story.
My origin story of like, hey, stop
Superhero
fingering or
origin
banging her.
story.
Like, that's not cool, bro.
Wait, what happened?
Oh,
We've shared this.
so many times.
We've shared this.
I
One
don't
of my first
remember.
girlfriends, I was still a virgin at the time, but we're messing around and going to all the bases and putting our hands down each other's pants. And I was putting my hand in her in a way that wasn't enjoyable. And it was like we were just yanking each other basically. And a couple of weeks later, one of her friends, like at school in gym class, pulled me aside and was just like, "Hey, you're doing it wrong."
Oh, that's
And I was like
nice of a
mortified at
friend.
first, but she did it in a way that made me feel not threatened.
Yeah.
And she like taught me how. And like, other than also learning how to do it, made me realize that all I have to do is ask questions, and it made me feel comfortable with communicating, and also made me want to make sure that she was happy, because at an early age, I was told, you're doing something. I was thinking I was the man. And then I was told I was not the man.
You're bruising her insides.
And so I just wanted to, I realized that I had to do things the right way to have her enjoy it, and her enjoying it mattered to me. I don't know if that was something because I was, my mom didn't sit me down like, make sure she comes, but my mom certainly taught me how to like meet women, like to be like respectful and like make sure that like I saw my dad's whole life. I saw my dad just make my mom my mom was always my dad's number one priority, always. That philosophy, I don't know.
Yeah.
But to your point, I think guys, yeah. But at the same time, women, as young women, I think they're told this. And so then all of a sudden, if it doesn't happen, they feel like they're doing something wrong. And they have all these questions. And then it's just like, it's not your job, women, to get necessarily guys off all the time. It's your job as a couple to hopefully climax together, and if it doesn't happen, it's okay.
Yeah.
Climax together. That's like a
Not at the same time.
situation.
Not at the same time.
Right.
Same time. But like, it's okay. If one person, guy or girl, says it's not going to happen tonight, that's fine. I think the worst thing you can do is like get frustrated or make it about you. In this situation, if it's like it becomes an ongoing thing, sure, start like asking questions, and then maybe eventually it's okay to say, I kind of need that. I want it on my face. Like, I don't know. What do you do usually in Ubers?
Okay, I love playing games on my phone.
You do?
It relaxes me. But I found the best new game because I've been needing a new one. It's called Best Fiends.
It sounds
What?
sounds fun.
It is fun. Fiends, it's like friends without the R. Best Fiends.
No, I got that.
But it's like a puzzle game. There's really cute characters.
Ooh. Is it like it's all these different kinds of puzzles? Is it like brain games?
It does help your brain, supposedly.
Right.
But it also, for me, it just like, I like not having to think about everything for a couple minutes,
They already have 100 million downloads.
Yeah. It's sweeping the nation.
Wow. Everyone loves a good...
I'm serious. If you like playing games on your phone, you have to download this. It's free.
I'm downloading it right now. I mean, Rochelle keeps talking about
I know. I'm obsessed.
Anyways.
The characters are so cute. Look at them. The little bugs.
Oh, that's amazing. I love brain games. You have to exercise your brain.
You do.
And Best Fiends helps you do that. And you have fun.
Yes.
Do you have fun doing push-ups?
No.
Not at all. But you can exercise your brain and have fun.
It's true.
Engage your brain with fun puzzles and collect tons of cute characters. Best Fiends is a 5-star rated mobile game, and it is a free download on the Apple Apps Store and Google Play.
Yeah. Free.
That's friends without the R. Best Fiends.
Mm-hmm.
For someone like myself, I need to have those instructions
Yes.
because I'm not the best speller.
Yes.
So,
BESTFIENDS.
well, we all love our Cheers.
Yep.
I was in Vegas this weekend
Wait, you were?
working, doing some work with Good Morning America.
Oh, humble brag.
Humble, just a small flex.
That's really cool.
Small flex. Well, I was in Vegas though,
Yeah,
so I had a few drinks.
of course. You got to.
I didn't overconsume,
Yeah.
but listen, at this point in my life, if I have 2 or 3, I don't feel my best self.
You got to wake
the
up
next
and
day.
work.
Well, I did this time because I had some Cheers.
Thank goodness for Cheers. I'm a huge fan of them.
It works great, and it's healthy for you.
Yeah, it's actually good for your liver.
It helps, some of this other stuff out there. I don't know.
Questionable.
I'm not questionable.
Yeah.
I can't recommend
Even if you
it.
just have a couple glasses
Just
of
a
wine.
couple glasses of wine. Just
Pop a couple Cheers.
you will
before bed.
feel fresh.
Mhm.
I have a couple glasses of wine, and like the next morning, I'm like, you know what? I feel like I had a couple glasses of wine.
Yeah.
Not anymore. So for a limited time, our friends at Cheers are giving Viall File listeners a chance to try out Cheers Restore for free.
Come on.
People, we're just giving things
We
away.
really are.
Take advantage of this offer. Simply go to takecheers.com/Viall. Take the 30-second quiz, pay $1 for shipping, which in itself is super affordable and inexpensive. And your 4-dose sample bottle will be on its way, along with a free gift. And we're not even going to tell you what else it is. It's a surprise plus the Cheers. Incredible. Incredible. Again, that's takecheers.com/Viall, VIALL, to get your first 4 doses of Cheers Restore for just $1. Cheers. It's the best thing to happen to alcohol since alcohol.
Now go buy the stuff.
Well, Ariel, thanks for calling in. I'm Nick. This is Shug. Rochelle's also with us.
Hello.
And what can we
Hi,
help you
guys.
out with, Ariel?
So, my question for you guys is, I feel like in today's society, guys are kind of expected to like crave sex or love sex or, just kind of always be of like a sexual mindset.
Mm-hmm.
But what about for guys who don't experience that? How can they feel empowered and normal in today's society?
Is this something that you're experiencing with someone personally that's making you ask this question?
Yes.
Can you tell that story for us?
Sure. So my boyfriend has kind of always experienced something similar to this. He's just not that into it. Like that's not like how his brain works. That's not what motivates him.
Mm-hmm.
It's not how he feels connected to people. And he's been in like, casual relationships, and he's also been in deep, intimate relationships. And, we're kind of in the process of getting engaged and, we're headed that way. And like, even with me, it's not how he feels connected or loved. And, he just struggles in society, I think, to feel normal. He goes to work and, all the guys are joking around and, like, oh, I'm going to have sex 3 times a day or whatever. And he's just like, am I supposed to want that? Like, I don't like,
Sure.
and so as his partner, like, I've struggled to kind of figure out how I can empower him and just make him feel normal and loved in a way that he understands,
So
Mhm.
speaking about, I'm curious about, we'll get into his work or friends thing, but the most important thing is your relationship with him.
Mhm.
How are you feeling about it? In terms of, it's okay to say, are you struggling with his lack of desire for sex?
Right. Yeah, it's hard, because, obviously I have desires and it's hard because it's like, I know that he doesn't desire it, but then when he gives it or offers it, it's like, are you really doing this for us as a couple, or are you just doing this because you think that is something that I want?
Sure.
You're trying to make, me happy, which if that's the case, like that doesn't make me happy because, that's not really desirable.
And you know that he's always struggled with this, or how many serious relationships has he been in before you?
He's probably been with like 10 to 12 partners prior to me.
Okay. How old are you guys?
I'm 26 and he's 25.
Okay.
So he's been in probably one other serious relationship prior to me.
And according to him, that's kind of just, this is his MO.
Yeah. He always says like, when he was younger, obviously going through puberty and stuff, like, yeah, it was, it was fun or whatever, but
he's still pretty young.
He said he burned out on it really quickly.
What was he doing at 20? 25 is pretty youthful still, in terms of from a man's sexual, like normally most 25-year-old men are still have pretty healthy sex drives, but all people are different. Some guys are more sexually driven than others.
Right.
But listen, as far as you're concerned, I don't think it's wrong for you to want more sex. In terms of how to empower him, there is a balance between, listen, whether he's into it or not, like he's still a guy, and sometimes guys from, to your point, society's standpoint, kind of feel a bit judged or shamed in a way of not being manly enough if they don't want to have sex, and then they get defensive, and that's never helpful in those types of situations. So there is a balance between making sure he meets your needs versus you not making him feel like less of a man because he doesn't want to when you're frustrated. You said
Right.
something earlier about not wanting him, like if he doesn't want to have sex. I mean, I get that you want him to want to have sex, but if he has sex with you, if he's intimate with you, there's something there that makes him want to do that. And if that is to please you, I wouldn't, if I were you, see that as a negative, right? I mean, relationships all the time are built off of doing things selflessly for the person you love. I mean, quite honestly, any real relationship isn't going to stand the test of time if you aren't willing to do selfless things. I mean, it's great to find a partner, right, Shug? Like oh yeah, we love all the same things, but that's not, sex aside, like having everything in common and always wanting to do the same thing all the time is great. But sometimes you have to do things because your partner wants to do them. And
Right.
I guess what I'm saying is, if he wants to have sex, if he wants to get you off, if he wants to do things that you enjoy, I think it would behoove you to stop obsessing over, does he really want to do this or not, right? You may not have the crazy sex life that other couples might have. And then you'll just have to decide, is this someone you want to be with, knowing that sex isn't going to play a big part of your relationship. But I think in the short term, to help him out is to not make him feel stressed. Enjoy the moment when you guys have sex. If he does things, if you guys have some foreplay, get out of your head whether he wants to do it or not, because that's only going to make him feel more stressed. Well, do you really want to do this for me? Like, what do you want me to say? We're doing it, like if I were dating someone and she wants me to go to a Broadway show, I'm not really into it, but like I take her to a Broadway show. Let's say, and I want to do this nice thing. And the whole time she's just like, well, do you really want to go? Because if you don't really want to go, I don't really want to take you. I'm like, well, what do you want me to say? Do you want me to lie and pretend I'm super into Broadway? Or do you just want me to be happy that I'm spending this night with you and having fun?
And I think, a big part of that too is the more that you can get out of your head in those moments while you guys are intimate, and the more fun that you're having and the more that you enjoy it, and if you're, screaming your head off and having the greatest time, I think he probably will find new inspiration and maybe want to do it for you even more. And maybe it's, not so much about him needing to get his rocks off as much as it's about enjoying watching his wife love it so much, so I think that he can maybe even come to find a new enjoyment of sex being that it's for you. Like, I think that there is something modern and unique about that approach to it too. There's just so much to do in sex that if, somebody's not wanting to bang all day, but they maybe want to really make you feel pleasure. I just think that there's so many kind of ways around it, and that conversation can get on the table. I personally understand where he's coming from. I just went through a full year where I just didn't really feel a lot of desire, and I didn't want to, I just didn't really want to have intimacy. It just fell really far down on my priority list, really far down to the bottom where I wasn't even thinking about it. And I can see where that would be hard to be in a relationship and prioritize that. But I do think that there's a way.
Just have to ask, just because I don't quite understand that he burnt himself out. So was he pretty sexually active earlier in his life?
Yes.
A lot? I mean, because listen, I would say 10 partners before the age of 25 is a pretty average and solid number in terms of, certainly, I mean, there's people who've had a lot more sex, but he's certainly not anti-sex. He's out there, he's meeting people, he's doing it, and that's, I'm curious about what's changed for him.
Yeah. What are his passions right now? I'm curious to hear about that. Like, what is he putting his desire towards?
Right now I think a lot of his focus is just on work and, building our life together and just kind of entering into adulthood, if you will.
How's everything else in the relationship? I mean, in terms of time and quality time and enjoyable moments minus the sex part. I mean, how's everything else?
The rest of the relationship is amazing. no complaints whatsoever.
So it's not like he's too, well, when you say he's focused on work, like, but you're spending time together, you're doing things, he's meeting those needs. So you're just not having sex a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't get the whole work.
So, you know,
I don't get the whole I'm focused on work.
Yeah. We find ways to be, emotionally intimate in other ways, just
good.
by spending time together or experiencing things together, dreaming about the future, things like that.
Are you, when you brought up the work stuff and his buddies talking about sex and blah, 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 has he shared that with you, that guys talk about that and it makes him uncomfortable? Or are you assuming this is going on?
No, he's brought it up. He just feels kind of like a fish out of water.
Okay.
And today's society, it's just like, he says that he kind of just lies about it and pretends like he's the same as, his peers and the young men around him. But at the end of the day, he's just not.
It sounds sincere. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, it's hard for him to own that because it's not perceived as normal in today's society.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds sincere. And the only reason why I asked this question, because I'm sure there might be people who are listening who are like, oh, he's cheating on you. If he's not having sex with you, he's having sex without someone else. And it doesn't seem like that's the case, because it seems like he's just maybe not that into sex. And you are spending time together and doing things. And it's not like you're not sensing that. Back to your original question is, you are his girlfriend, hopefully his fiance and maybe wife someday. And that empowerment really is going to come from you, because at the end of the day, if you're in a relationship, that doesn't matter, in terms of like, you don't like those guys. If he's 25, he's still young, and guys nowadays are even younger, and they'll grow up, and he should get that confidence from you. And so a best way you can do that again is back to, don't make him feel like he's doing something wrong because he doesn't want to have as much sex. And so don't get defensive or again, I'm just repeating myself now. Enjoy the moments you do have sex. If you want to go to a sex therapist or a counselor or seek counseling, that's something you guys can look into as well. I don't know if that he'll get defensive about that, but at least to explore things. But if he's just not into it, then he just might not be into it. But being supportive as his partner is something you can always and should do. And enjoy the moments that you do have, and don't get frustrated at them.
And really, like, outside of the two of you, your sexual habits are nobody's business. And it's just not on it's on such a huge sliding scale, sexuality. So there's just no right or wrong. And I think that, you can find a lot of ways to support that and to celebrate it too. And I imagine that, those 25-year-old bros that he's talking to at work, I bet they don't have the level of emotional intimacy that you guys have. And, I'm sure that if they're like, yo, I just, I ate her out for 5 hours. And he's like, yeah, well, I talked to my fiance for 6, I'm sure that won't land with the young boys, but that is true. And like, what an incredible thing. So I think the more that you focus on his strengths that really don't come up a lot in men that age, I think
would be my
great.
guess that him sharing that with you too, could him just be not necessarily projecting, but like running it by you. Because again, it might be just he might feel insecure about what you think of him. And so he's telling these stories about what the guys are talking about at work and trying to see what you say. So it all comes down to, listen, if you're in a committed relationship, whether you're into sex or not, he probably wants to make you happy and make you feel satisfied. And if he's sensing that you're not, that probably is going to bother him. So you guys as a couple have to find a middle ground, and you have to, whether that is getting therapy or talking. My biggest takeaway from you, again, I've said this, is stop getting frustrated and over questioning whether he really wants to go down on you or have sex, or if he's willing to do it and he wants to make you happy and get you off. Be excited about that. That's cool. Like, all right. Because like, heck, there's a lot of girls out there, or guys that just want to do their thing and get off, and what, they're not really focused on her needs anyway. So if he's just there to please you, then that's not a bad thing. I wouldn't take that as like, well, he doesn't want to do the dishes, Like, again, who wants to do dishes? Yeah. He's doing the dishes. So Just be happy you have someone trying, and don't ever make them feel judged for being different.
And girl, enjoy that. Enjoy the time when it comes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or when you come, or,
Or
when
when
he
you come, when
comes,
he
or like just
comes.
enjoy the coming.
When there's coming, get the dishes done.
Yeah. Hopefully you find that helpful with Ariel.
Okay. Well, thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks for your
nice
time.
chatting.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Yay.
What is your name?
I'm Rachel.
Hi, Rachel. I'm Nick.
Hi, Nick.
Sure.
Hello.
Rochelle is with us as well. How can we help you, Rachel?
Well, my question is mostly just about making out, to be honest. And I mean, like, both on its own, maybe to end a first date, also like leading into more. Because even though I consider myself like pretty sex positive, I often find myself like just wanting to make out when a guy wants to jump right to sex. And so I guess I'm wondering, just like, is making out still cool, and how you make it like cool and fun and enough?
Mm-hmm.
And the only distinction I really want to make before you answer is like, I don't think I'm just talking about boundaries, because I'm pretty good at setting my boundaries. I think I'm more talking about expectations of what both of us want to happen, because my end goal isn't like that he wants sex but is willing to stop like along the way at making out. I think like I'm ideally talking about both of us down to start just like kissing and having fun and like actually enjoying that and seeing where it goes without like the expectation of where it's going to lead.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just like not my lived experience of what the other person is expecting.
How old are you?
23.
Okay. I don't know what you think, Shug, but my experience is I don't think this is something that's changed with times. I think we were talking about this earlier. Men have, especially younger men, have always been a little hornier, a little faster than women. We talked about this with Sex with Emily.
I disagree with that sentiment.
You think as 18-year-old, I don't know, I guess maybe you tell me as 18-year-old
Yeah, I think
women.
that's a falsehood. Yeah.
Okay, maybe it's the double standard of, okay, fine, Sex with Emily. I guess my point is like men are frying pans, women are slow cookers kind of thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I think that's always been the case. Fair enough?
Yeah.
Okay. And I think as young people, I guess guys don't really sometimes know. You know, we have Sex with Emily here still, you know, coming here reminding us that men are frying pans and women are slow cookers, right? And I think just that idea that men are, as soon as you kiss them and they're aroused and they find you attractive, they're pretty much ready, you know, in the sense that like, let's do it, right? And I think as men, there's still a lot to learn about. Like, there's a lot of things you can do besides just penetration and having sex. And to your point, I do think men do maybe appreciate those intimate moments that Rachel's talking about. Like, let's just kiss and make out and be in that moment first. Men are kind of always ready to just pounce when they're you know, attracted to someone. And so part of it is about setting boundaries, and it sounds like you're good at that, but you may never necessarily get a guy who wants the same thing as you in that moment. We had this in an earlier call, like expectations, right? Like, I mean, it's good that you set your boundaries, but is a guy going to want to necessarily make out as long as you want to make out and you're going to feel that sense that he wants to? I don't know if that's going to be the case, but there is a part of maybe him just realizing, hey man, hey buddy, slow down. I want to, and sometimes men need to be coached up by women sometimes that, you know, hey, I will get to there maybe, but
just in the
meantime,
middle, just go, hey, what do your grandfather's balls look like? And he'll be like, oh, I just lost my erection. And then you slow down and then start up again.
Yeah, but I mean, Rachel's talking about she wants to have these intimate moments, and that's the struggle. It's having the intimate moments that you're desiring without always having it to immediately lead to the expectation of sex, right? Like, and it sounds like you're feeling like as soon as you make out with a guy, you can sense that he's just immediately trying to go up your shirt or go down your pants or take your clothes off, right? Is that accurate? And you would appreciate if a guy would just look at you, kiss you, and just enjoy that kiss and enjoy that moment and maybe let you unbutton his pants whenever it is you're ready. That sounds really nice. And I will just say that us men need to do a better job of that. And sometimes it just, especially early in our life, it takes a woman like you with a young guy to just say, hey, listen, I don't know what you've been doing when you're 18 or 19, but I can tell you all the women you've been with before would appreciate it if had you done this and do that. And sometimes we just need to learn because sometimes we're not getting it from our parents. You know, sometimes I think parents are doing a better job, but even my parents we didn't talk about sex like that. I mean, my parents told me about sex. They also told me not to do it. So the whole idea of what I should be doing when I was starting to get sexually active wasn't coming from my parents. And so you just need to try to talk to them because men have a tendency of getting carried away and getting anxious. And you know, like you said, it's not about boundaries, it's about them checking in, but sometimes it's that fine line. And I think we've learned that through conversations, and we're learning it now more in these kind of me too times, is that what's that fine line between making out and then a guy like doing that, right? You know, you go up the shirt, you take it, and then she's like, okay, but deep down, she's not really okay.
Right.
And
you had to coerce her. Yeah,
well, again, not necessarily coerce. Like, I think most of these men talking don't feel like they're coercing or would ever say that they were coercing. That's just, they feel like that's the next step, and she goes along with it. I don't think that's necessarily fair to say these guys are coercing all these. I'm sure it happens sometimes.
Well, I'm thinking if you say, I don't want to have sex, and then they try to get you to.
Well, sure, yes. I'm not even talking about that. I think like what Rachel's talking about is you start making out, it's hot and heavy, guy gets an erection, and then always like he's putting his hand up her shirt, and she just kind of goes along with it.
Yes.
Right? She doesn't say anything, and he's like, okay, and he kind of checks in, and maybe she wishes it wouldn't go quite there. Maybe she just wishes we were just making out, but she goes along with it. All I'm saying is it just comes down to communication your part. I don't think you should feel bad speaking up, and that doesn't make you a bitch. It doesn't make you not wanting to have sex. You can do it in a way that doesn't make him, you could just say, hey, listen, buddy, you're really hot. I want to get there. Let's just enjoy each other, you know?
Yeah, I remember at your age, like it definitely was such a game of like, bringing them to the edge and being like, no. And having to constantly be like, slow down, pushing the hand away. You know, they're trying to get into your pants and they're trying to move it around. And I think as women, it's okay to be understanding that of what Nick said. Listen, they're ready to go. Their anatomy, their bodies, they want the full shebang. They really do. And I think that we need to have understanding of that, as well as a really beautiful, confident voice and physical movements of like, no, I'm not there yet. I don't want to yet.
And it doesn't have to be like, no, like stop. It could just be like,
I'm not.
Hey,
yeah,
it's okay,
it's like, no, you know, that is still no. But also, like,
yes, and
it
they should
is
not.
a conversation.
And hopefully he's just like, okay, you know, but it's
and believe you me, they will try again and again. And as long as they resist, you're in okay. You're still in the powerful space. And I think that when it becomes a relationship and you start really, communicating with each other, if it's just a make out or a one night kind of make out, a party make out, there's going to be a lot of pushing of the hands. But you can also start out being like, hey, you have to let me lead here. You know, like there's a way for you to be like, let's go at my pace, okay? You know, like there's a way for you to communicate that. I think, and just being bold and not afraid to do that. Men are going to want to fuck you. Like, that's just kind of the way that it's going to go.
Rochelle's just like, oh, fine.
No, I just feel like that pushing the hand away thing, like, I feel like maybe we can change that. Like, if you say no, I feel like they shouldn't keep trying in an ideal world.
But do you know what I mean? Like when you're making out, right? And they go and they try to take your hands off. And then you keep making out, right? You keep making out and you're feeling all over and they're getting overtaken by what they want to do. I just think that we need to have an understanding that these these men are listen, they might try again, but why are we being defeated by them trying again?
Let me ask you this, Rochelle. Like in a situation what Rachel's talking about, the making out, right? We're talking about men being frying pans and women being slow cookers, right? Yeah. And so let's say Rachel's making out with a guy, and within the first 15 seconds, he tries to go up her shirt. And Rachel's like, whoa.
Right.
Puts her hands away.
Right.
And he's like, okay.
Yeah.
But 15 minutes later, Rachel's more into it. She's made out for 15 minutes. She's hot. She's into it. She wants him to go up her shirt. Does he, does he have to ask? Does she give him the okay? Or does he kind of like try to read her? That's when it's a little bit more confusing and gray than what you guys are talking. And all I'm saying, I see both sides, and I think it is just about communication. If it would be great if Rachel, that's actually, as a guy, that's hot. If a girl grabbed my hand and put it up, that would be hot. But again, I don't know if young people even feel confident about that. I would love for people to talk about sex and young people and be open about that as much, so that there is less and less confusion. I think it comes from both sides. That's all I'm saying is, as a guy, it can be sometimes like, well, does she want me to do it now? And like some women aren't feeling confident enough to do that, to grab the guy's hand. For all you women out there, showing a guy what to do on you is hot. It's super sexy.
Mm-hmm.
Taking the lead in that manner is hot. Like as a guy, I like to, take the lead, so to speak, but there's something about like her showing what you want I find sexy, especially early in a relationship. And I think,
and it's it's just, what I'm saying is like, it's a hard thing for both men and women when you're young to learn body language, to learn body signs. Like if I'm pushing my chest up into them, and like I've learned how to communicate without words now, right? Like I know how to indicate that I want something to be touched and that I, don't want the other thing to be touched. But I just think it takes time to learn to read those signs. I'm not saying that, listen, if you say no, don't touch me and don't unbutton my pants, and you're just kissing, and then he tries again and pushes up on you, get the fucking guy get the fuck out of the car. Get out, But before that, if you're getting more passionate, and there could be some confusion about the level of passion you're hitting, I think it's understandable to have to be like, yo, I'm not going to get there. Do not try to open my pants again. Like it's just all communication and strength.
Rochelle, go ahead.
This is just like, I don't know. It's just upsetting.
Upsetting, or what is your different? You have a different point of view. That's fine.
No, I'm just tired of the boys will be boys. Oh, they'll just do what they want. We just have to keep pushing them away.
But who's saying boys will be boys?
I just felt like that was the sentiment Suge was saying. Like, that's just what they'll do. They'll push up on you. And
but even when we had Emily here, we were just talking about like what Dr. Emily talked about is that men are different than women, and here's how we have to understand each other, where we're coming from first, and that's first understanding it, and then we communicate based off of acknowledging our differences, right? And so there's no one saying boys will be boys, and that's okay.
And they're allowed to do it again after you say no. That's certainly not my point.
But there might be some women, I don't know. I can't speak. I don't know. You got women tell me, like, do you sometimes want a guy to take charge? And just because you weren't ready the first 15 seconds doesn't mean you're not ready 15 minutes later, right? Is that fair?
Yeah. Can I add something too?
Yeah, please.
Sure. Sorry, we're totally just arguing it.
Just the other sort of part is like, I know, because you're talking, Nick, a lot about what to do in the moment when, 15 seconds in, whatever.
Sure.
But I think I'm also thinking about before anything even happens, particularly with dating apps, where like when someone asks when I ask somebody out on a date or they ask me out on a date, I've been on enough first dates where the guy's expecting sex that like part of me wants to set up the expectation beforehand that that's not going to happen. But there already are so many issues with dating apps being organic that I'm not like trying to, I get that the point of going on a date is like you see if you get along and you see where it goes. So I'm not trying to prescribe exactly how it has to go, but I also would love to be like, you should expect that we're.
Well, let me ask you this. When you say men are expecting sex on a first date, I guess fine. Let's just assume a bulk of men on first dates that you meet on dating app are expecting it. But regardless of their expectations, it's pretty easy to not put yourself in a situation like if you definitely don't want to hook up on a first date, you go out for a drink or maybe dinner and it ends there. I'm not saying you are allowed to go to his house afterwards and not feel like you should have sex. I'm not saying that. But at the same time, if you definitely don't want to, it's probably like I wouldn't go home to a guy's house. I wouldn't go to dinner, have drinks, and then go to his house for more drinks. You can if you want to, and you don't have to have sex. I'm not saying that, but
we've talked about this, about the first date being a coffee.
Yeah.
Like if the minute that on an app, you're like, hey, if he's like, let's grab a drink, and you're like, actually, I'd love to grab a coffee tomorrow, they will bail if they're just trying to sleep with you.
Exactly. Keep it simple. Like, the simpler you make it, set up expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you don't want to have, like, if you're like, I don't want to have sex all the time on a first date. And then on a first date, you're like, well, why don't you just come over and Netflix with me? You are allowed to Netflix and you are allowed to say no, but a guy's going to go in there assuming she might want to have sex. So
I personally, those dating apps, you just have no energy exchange. How do you know if you like the person?
Get a cup of coffee.
Like,
keep it simple.
There's truly two ways of doing it. Either the person or you or whomever is like trying to hook up and they're using it as like a sex thing, or they're really looking to find their partner. And that's, I really truly think that this coffee thing or tea or whatever, or like a daytime, I think it's the way to crack that code, because you're right. It's full of a lot of people that have those expectations.
Who's having coffee and then being like, hey, do you want to come over to my place at 6:30 in the afternoon, in the evening?
Really? Like it just invites such a nice gradual get to know you. You have conversation over coffee. And then if he's like, you know what? I'm having such a great time. Do you want to go
grab some food?
Food?
You know, you have a coffee at like 3 to, like, again, depending on your work life, we're in LA or talking, but like, and drinks are fine too, like it's a Saturday afternoon coffee or something like that. And drinks are fine. I agree with Shug. I like a good coffee or tea drink. The point is, keep it simple. Just because guys are expecting sex, you can put yourself in a situation where you can vet that out, I think is our point. And so that you have that option. You may never get to a point, and I think we just have to acknowledge that biologically, men and women are different, right? So men might be a little bit more hopeful early on. Women have not all, because some guys aren't as more. Some women are more about sex early on, and some guys want to like talk, But generally speaking, you might run into more men trying to fuck on the first date, than women, and that's fine if they want to. But just put yourself in situations where you don't have to worry about that stress.
Yeah.
Then you're not stressing out about it. Then you're not like, is he going to invite me over? Should I go over? Will he think I'm just don't make that an option.
I just want to say something because I relate to you a lot. And I think like, if you struggle with boundaries here, you probably are struggling with boundaries and asking for what you want, what you need in your life outside of like sex and dating as well. And it's hard as a woman, especially when you're a nice person, you're a people pleaser, to really like say what you want and be okay, maybe even hurting someone else's feelings. So I just encourage you to keep developing that skill.
And I will say, like, any guy worth his salt who likes you won't have his feelings hurt by you saying, I don't want to do this right now, but I look forward to next time.
Oh, and they also won't have their feelings hurt if you leave. Like, I've certainly been on dates where, it ends in a kiss.
The truth
and
is,
the kiss can go anywhere.
more.
And you know what I do? I'm like, you kiss for a sec. And then I'm like, okay, great.
Yeah, the truth is,
See you soon.
Yeah, the more you say no,
it works like a charm.
The more, the more you make them wait. If they really like you, the more they'll stick around. And again, I've also said in other dates, if you want to have sex on the first date, that's great too. I'm not saying what's right or wrong, but if you don't want to, you waiting isn't going to make guys worth your time not like you. 100%. There hasn't been a single guy in the world who really liked a girl, and she said, I'm just not ready right now. And he's like, well, I don't want to. That's a guy who isn't worth your time. But if he likes you and he's attracted to you and he thinks you're nice and funny, he's going to go home and tell his buddies, I met a nice girl. Not having sex is also a great option too. And if you want to have sex, great, have sex. That's entirely up to you.
And just one more thought too. If you are feeling like your voice isn't as strong as you would like it to be, in setting boundaries when you don't feel safe, it is so important for you to take it at your own pace, which is going to be slow, and for you to learn to trust the person. So a person who maybe is like, oh, I'm not sure that I have my voice. One night stands just aren't for you. It's going to crush you. You'll get into sticky situations. I think like learning that about yourself is that you need to trust this person to be able to set boundaries with them, take the time to get to know them. Again, back to the coffee idea. And you can do that with strangers and do it. And you need to grow. They're fucking strangers. Like, it's just, you don't know that person. Of course not everyone feels comfortable having sex with somebody. It's a stranger. You don't know them. Take your time.
Yeah. And like, but thanks for listening. I know we've been rambling while you've been
Yes,
just
we
like,
have.
no, this is a great topic, and I think this is something that needs to be talked about more. And again, it sounds like, and it does say you've gotten a little discouraged, especially on dating apps, of these expectations, and then almost kind of getting discouraged about men in general and their desire to just want to have sex so quickly. Just help yourself in that sense of put yourself in situations that you're comfortable with. And then you will increase the odds of hanging out with guys that you're looking for. I think is the best takeaway. And sometimes simplifying that first date is a great first step. Here's what I wouldn't do to answer your question. On the dating app, don't be like, I don't want to have sex on the first date. If you're just looking to fuck, I'm not your girl. Don't say that. You don't need to say that. There's other ways of doing this to avoid that conversation. And that is getting a cup of coffee and just leaving it at coffee and then taking it slow. You can take control of the dating situation. Tell them what you want to do. I'm available for coffee.
Mm-hmm. Don't get in their car.
Yeah.
Don't have them pick you up. These are very important.
If a guy asks you out, do you want to get together? Be like, sure, I'm available for coffee at blah, blah, blah. If he's like, well, you don't want to get listen, I'm available for coffee. Take control. Don't let him, I only want to do dinner and drinks. Well, if a guy's not willing to get a cup of coffee with you and he insists on dinner and drinks, that's a red flag.
Swipe left.
Totally.
Yeah. So to control your situation, I think that'll help out. And there's plenty of guys out there. We just also sometimes need some help from you guys to slow us down. Thanks for your time, Rachel.
Thank you.
Listen, those are really good calls. And I think as we've shown with some of the differences in the room, it's actually, I don't think there's really a difference of opinion. These are tough conversations to have. And there's a lot of just confusion. And there is a big difference between understanding that men and women are different and the whole boys will be boys mentality. There's a huge difference.
And I think it can change where men are a little bit more aware of, sorry to interrupt you.
Totally. I mean, yes, we're talking about people changing and men and women becoming more cognizant of what makes the other sex tick and how to have better sexual experiences. We're never going to change how men and women are biologically different, right? That's just a fact. It's understanding those differences and then going from there. And again, here's Rachel getting discouraged because these guys are being the guys, and that's not okay. And I'm not saying that's an excuse, but putting herself in situations that make it easier for her to be less discouraged. And then communicating with the right men that she's willing to go home with to still say, slow down. And then just being open about sex. It's sometimes uncomfortable for young people to talk about these things. And so they don't. And then that's where the confusion and trouble sets in.
I totally agree. And another point is everybody's different. And sometimes I'm I wish I could just sprinkle my hood ratdom on all of the women to be just fucking cut a bitch if he tries to get you. You know what I mean? Which not everybody's going to do. So knowing ourselves and knowing the pace that we need to go.
You calling yourself a hood rat is very funny.
She's a little G sometimes,
It comes out of me sometimes.
But even to your point, Rochelle, that's not in your nature. You're the people pleaser. I've gotten to know you. I minus the sex stuff. I always encourage you to have more of a voice and things like that. And it's not but that's just a personal, and that's fine too.
It's wonderful. The self-awareness.
Everyone's different that way, and that's why these conversations never get old and always need to keep happening because. We just need to do a better job. And when we start pointing fingers, I think that's when people get defensive and then people aren't talking about it and things like that. What is your name?
I'm Mariah.
Hi, Mariah. I'm Nick. This is Shug, and we have Rochelle here as well.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
How can we help you, Mariah?
So I have been in a relationship for about 2 years now. I met this guy on Tinder, and I think it was like a day after my 18th birthday, we met and we started dating. 8 months into our relationship, I moved to Alaska with him for his work. And then about a little over a year into our relationship, we got married.
Wow.
Part of the reason why we got married was a little bit of like religious pressure. I felt I needed medical insurance, and then just he was the first guy that I had ever seriously dated. So I felt like those first relationship, a thing that you have with people. But a little bit into the relationship, a lot of, I don't know if I'd call them red flags, but things kind of started happening that haven't gone away over the span of the 2 years. He has a very hard time being intimate, as in like even with like words of affirmation or sex. That's a huge issue for us. I think one time he told me I would rather literally do anything in the world than have sex with you right now. So none of these problems have ever really gotten better. And even like 2 weeks into our relationship, it just we never even had a honeymoon phase or anything. So now I'm kind of at the point where I'm only 20. I've been married for a year and a half, and I don't feel very happy, but I feel like I don't have like justifiable reasons for not being happy because he takes care of me financially and is there for me in other ways, but it's more like a roommate relationship, not really husband and wife dynamic.
Okay. You mentioned medical bills and things like that. Like, is that something you're able to share in terms of, was that a serious traumatic event, or was there, like, what's going on there?
Yeah, actually. So I had a relapse with lymphoma. It's a form of cancer.
Sure.
And I had it first when I was 14, and now just this year I've been getting treatment for it again. So that's kind of been a crazy thing because I cannot work right now. So it's like I don't feel like I have that. I don't know. I don't feel like I can leave if I feel unhappy because it's like I'm dependent on him.
Where's your family in all this?
So we moved back to Ohio. That's where we live now. And my family lives like 20 minutes away from us, but they have not been my biggest supporters. They have been kind of judgmental about the relationship just because I come from a very, very religious family.
So they haven't been supporters with the relationship, not necessarily you as a person.
Yeah, they're not really supportive. I mean, they're parents, they're there, but just there's a lot of pressure on me and not a lot of acceptance. So I don't feel like I can really go to them.
What pressure to do what?
To stay in a relationship, to make things work, kind of, because a lot of the issues we have I knew about before we got married, but a lot of the reason why I got married was that religious pressure of, we can't be having sex outside of marriage.
Gotcha. So they want you to stay in the relationship no matter what.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And where are you, if you're able to share, kind of from a health standpoint now? Are things in remission? Are you doing, like, how's that? Like, what's the, how much is that a factor in your decision?
And why can't your insurance be under your parents until you're like
25?
Yeah.
Well, so I had a bone marrow transplant in February, and that's where they basically knock your health to like zero, and then you start to build yourself back up. And that's done with. So that's why I have hair growth now.
You got a very pretty face. You look very good with this haircut. If you never grow your hair any longer, you could still kill it.
I truly was like, listen to this girl making all these bold choices in this dope ass haircut. I was like, oh,
it looks good on you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Before I got sick, actually, I'd never cut my hair, so it was
makes
like
you look
down
really
past
edgy. I don't know. I mean, yeah. Anyways, I'm sidetracking.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
But yeah, so I guess I asked this question is like, let's just be real here. How much is your health and your future? Like, I guess from a little bit I know, you're never really out of the woods. And then again, you talked about having a relapse. So are you feeling more confident going forward that they've kind of figured this out? Or is this something that you have a real like fear that this is going to happen again?
So anytime that you have a relapse, you're kind of knocked off your feet. You're like, dang, I'm not as invincible as I thought I was going to be. I think I'm handling it like a boss, but you never know. with cancer. You never really know. And they're trying to do everything they can to make sure that it doesn't come back. But that fear is always going to be in the back of my mind. I want to be that powerful woman that's like, okay, I'm going to go get my own career. I'm not going to rely on a man. I'm not going to worry about these medical issues. But it's almost like just for this period, maybe even for the rest of the year, I feel like I have nowhere else to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Did you go to college? Probably not. Are you going to college?
No, not currently. I'm a writer and I want to get a book published, but everything's been put on hold right now.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, so you've had to deal with a lot. So that's, good. I mean, you're quite honestly, you're killing it. You're doing a lot of great things. I would use, I don't know you very well, but I can safely assume you've had to endure and face more and get through more than most people your age, which means you're capable of virtually anything you really want to do. I would remember that when you start feeling stuck and trapped, that's just your own fears and insecurities coming because you're not, right? It sucks to not necessarily always feel the love and support of your family, and I'm sorry for that, or to be in a relationship where you feel like it's your roommate. Religion aside and things like that, I just want to emphasize that you are so super young. And listen, I understand no one thinks they're going to get married and then divorced. And then it feels like you have a scarlet letter for some people, especially if you're from a religious family, to feel that judgment. Whatever, fuck it. Like, life's too short, especially if you're someone who's had to face cancer, that like at the end of the day, religious aside, like you're not going to go to heaven or hell based on the fact that you got married at 19 and it didn't work out. Like, whatever. I'm not God, so I'm not here to say what's going to get you into heaven or hell, but I can safely assume that there's a lot more to it than just that, right? You got married super young for a lot of extenuating circumstances, and there's something to be said about fighting for relationship. And I encourage you to fight for the relationship you have and the vows that you took to each other. But if he's not going to do 100% of his half, right? And if he's saying cruel and meanful and hurtful things like, I'd rather do anything than have sex with you, that's fine if he's not in the mood. He doesn't have to say something that can make you feel like it's you. I don't know. I honestly don't know if it's him or if he's just not into it, or he's just like something about, your health concern. I don't know. But he should never, as your husband, make you feel not desirable. And there's a million ways to make someone feel desirable that doesn't have anything to do with sex. And I think every person deserves that, men and women. And if you're not getting that, that's something you should, no matter if you're married or not, you have a right to always expect that. And if you're not getting it and you've tried to fix it, whether it's through therapy or counseling or communication, and they refuse to do anything about that, then you have the right to like have a life and have a happy life. Like, you guys married at such a young age. And if someone like doesn't live up to their vows, he took vows too, right? And if he's not living up to them, then, and I'm sure there might be people out there who are mad at me for like saying you should get divorced if death do you part. But like, that sounds great in theory, but sometimes people can be shitty and they don't live up to their expectation. I encourage you to just not be afraid to believe in yourself, and you have already done that, and double down and do that more. And if the worst thing that happens to, I think Rochelle, if you move home to a bunch of judgy parents, whatever, fine. Parents will always love you. We get mad at our parents, we get frustrated, but they are your parents and they are your family, and they're not there to be your best friends sometimes too. And just because what they're teaching you and judging you about isn't right or wrong, they're still your parents. My parents over time have softened and I've taught them a lot, and they've become more progressive as well. It takes time, but they are your parents. So don't abandon your parents just because you feel a little bit judged and shame from them. I'm not excusing them, but they are your family. Your husband needs to always earn the right to be with you. I think every couple does, regardless if you're married or not. A marriage isn't an excuse to like stop earning that person's love and affection. You have to live up to the vows that you give each other every day. And if he's not doing that, you have a right to maybe at some day end it. I encourage you to not, and all I'm saying is don't let your background and your family or any outside variables affect your decision to be happy.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's because my fear is, we haven't gone to therapy or anything, but my fear is just because after being with him for 2 years, I feel like I know him pretty well. And I feel like even if like we went to therapy and he tried, it wouldn't really be who he is. It would be almost like me trying to change him, because it just doesn't seem like it's really in him to be affectionate or like have a husband-wife dynamic with somebody.
Maybe so, but listen, like here's what you have to decide, and that's fine too. I don't know him, you know him, right? But what I'm saying is, don't make the mistake of assuming either, right? If you're done, you're done. If you're emotionally not there and you're just kind of like biding your time and you just don't want to be with them, that's fine too. There's nothing wrong with just admitting that. And maybe sometimes at that point, therapy is just a wasted effort because you are done. You have done everything you can personally do. If you have hope for the relationship, don't assume how he's going to be. Give him an opportunity to show you. Right? But that's entirely up to what you want. You have to decide whether you want to be in the relationship or not, regardless of outside influences. And if you still have hope for this relationship, then do whatever you can and give him an opportunity to show you a different side of him. And but you have the right to be done too, you know?
Yeah.
And I just want to encourage you, like as a woman, like I felt trapped in the past, like maybe in jobs I didn't want, but I needed the money. But like if you feel trapped in a relationship because of the money, like I just encourage you to get out of that trapped mindset. You are not trapped. You have other options. You can get an education. You can support yourself. It's like we can't use that as an excuse to
Look at you.
stay in bad things.
You're in this seemingly nice car, these nice clothes. Our lives are all quite charmed, especially speaking of most of the people in the United States. If things might get worse before they're better, but like to Rochelle's point, there's a solution to almost every problem. And if you can fight and beat cancer, you can get a better job or a different job. Maybe that requires you to work and again, you had to deal with some stuff where you couldn't work, but hopefully your health improves and then you have some options. And again, you still have your parents and your family. And at the end of the day, if you show up at their doorstep, they're going to hopefully take you in. Hopefully. I mean,
And if they don't, you can come and live with Nick and Rochelle.
Yeah.
Not you, Shug?
There you go.
You have options. You have friends, right? I'm sure you have a lot of friends. Hopefully.
I have a few.
You have a few. Maybe he kind of hurt that a little bit, but get out there. You're young. Meet more friends. Meet more people. Join activities and things. There's a big world out there that I'm guessing you've seen very little of, and I encourage you to try to see more of it, and it will open up a lot of doors and windows and experiences, and you have so much life to live. Get out there while you can and live your life, and don't ever feel like you're trapped or you can't, because that's honestly the biggest thing about growing up and getting older is always realizing that things ended up being easier than they thought they were because they seem so impossible having never done it. So just try, be willing to fail, and you're going to be fine.
Yeah. Well, whenever we found out I was sick, I lived with my parents for about 6 months while my husband was trying to get transferred from Alaska to here. So I have lived with them recently, and it's not a fun place to be.
I'm sure.
And he does take very good care of me. Like the car, the clothes, like that's all him. But it's like if the emotional part isn't there, then
you deserve
kind of like,
you deserve more than caretaker.
I'm sorry, nobody's gonna like what I have to say.
Oh no.
Why not?
But I'm gonna say it anyway. Listen, if you need to use this support for a minute, find emotional support elsewhere.
I'm fine with that.
Some people don't check off every box. We can't expect, listen, and I think that when you're ready, getting out of this, when you're stable and when you feel secure and ready to go, you're going to know, right? And it's also empowered to be like, listen, this guy doesn't check off all of those boxes. I'm going to leave him. But for now, I need this stability, and start creating emotional bonds with friends, with coworkers, and do all of that stuff. If it is not an option for you to go home, parents are not all good parents, and we shouldn't be around some of them. Like that is not...
Fine. I mean, there's exceptions to every rule.
Suggesting that you go home because they're your blood and they have to take care of you might not
make her own money also.
I think the biggest takeaway from this...
But maybe she's very sick and can't right away.
I think the biggest takeaway is that you again, we don't know all the details, but you probably have more options than you often feel. And I know that when I was younger and not having to deal with what you've had to deal with, that is almost an absolute, that when you're younger, you just feel like you feel trapped and you just don't know how to get out of it because you just don't know. Right. And so all we're just suggesting is that don't feel trapped. And listen, if you want to like stick in this relationship for a while because it's safe and comfortable, fine. And, work on it. But like, and we don't know, but her family is not wanting to live with your parents because they annoy you and it's challenging and they feel judged. I get that. Fine. It doesn't mean she can't. That's not an option.
All right.
And keeping us, like, listen, people have a habit of sometimes wanting to maintain a status quo because their life's good. People do it all the time. They want to, they don't like, that's all about like, to talk about comfort zone.
Yeah.
People live an entire life of like.
We're talking about, yes, I'm sorry.
We're talking about bigger picture. And like all we're just saying is that if she wants, she calls it, if she wants a happier life, if she's not feeling happiness in a relationship, we're just letting her know that she deserves it and it's an option for her. And that might include that might include getting out of your comfort zone for sure. That might include taking risks, and it might include in those risks failing a little bit early on. And that's okay. Some people are afraid of like, well, he takes care of me, he does this, and I have a nice life. It's nice. It's like fine, but deep down something telling you that it could be better. And if you want better, you have the right to have it be better. And that is all we're saying. And it's going to have some challenges.
I agree. But I also think that it's an option to chill there while you're figuring that out.
That's fine too. But that's not the overall point we're trying to make.
Well, living with my parents is kind of like, for an example, when we knew I was sick and because I knew my hair was going to fall out, I dyed it bright pink and cut it. And my mom told me she was embarrassed to be around me and that God was really going to judge me for this decision before my hair is going to fall out because of chemo. So that's the type of people you're kind of dealing with.
I get it. Listen, my parents, I love them. I had the best childhood and they're amazing and they're fantastic. They said some crazy shit to me when I was younger.
My mom thinks I'm going to hell. It's fine.
It's not fine, you guys.
It's not fine, but like, listen, parents, all I'm saying is we're all figuring it out too. My parents look back and sometimes feel embarrassment for some of the things they said to me and changed. My parents are an amazing people and I had an amazing childhood, but like they had me young and they were teaching me what they were taught. My grandma said some even crazier shit and she's an amazing person. All I'm saying is sometimes we get frustrated at our parents at times, but hopefully, and listen, maybe your mom sucks. I don't know. Like
it's almost like you guys are saying,
no, I love my parents. I love them.
She loves her parent. Like, yes, there's her mom. Was it okay for her mom to say that to her? No. Was that mean? Yes. I'm just saying like they are your family and short of your family, like kicking you out or like, you feel love, you love your family. There you go. It's okay to be annoyed with your parents.
Always mean that it's the right house to be living in.
Either is a husband who you feel like is a roommate, you don't feel their love, who also says to you things like, I'd rather do anything than have sex than you. Is that a better house to live in?
Maybe it is. I'm saying it's an option.
That's not what we're not. Anyways.
Or get a job.
Sugar's just trying to fight. We really appreciate you calling. This is a great call. And I can't stress enough, again, just believe in yourself. You've faced so much already.
Yes, you're amazing.
And I would lean into that and just remember, anytime you feel insecure or down on yourself and afraid, just remind yourself what you've already accomplished, right? And the more risks you take, the more you're going to succeed. There's going to be failure in that, and you're going to get more and more confidence. And the more world you try to see, the more options you will realize that you have in general, regardless of your situation. I can say that with anyone listening, that is a fact. So just remember that and decide what you want in this relationship, and then do whatever it is you want and fight for the relationship you want, and know that you have an out if you want. Your parents will still love you. They might say some rude shit, whatever. You'll be fine.
Well, thank you guys so much for taking my call. And really quick before we end, I just wanted to shoot my shot here and say that, Nick, I've been a huge fan of you for so long. And if there's ever a chance that I could meet you after the year I've had, obviously if I'm not to say that or ask that, or if that's not okay, that's fine. But just had to.
Well, if
love
you're
that.
ever in LA, maybe we can arrange it. But you know, obviously as a caller and a friend, I did ran into at Tyler's Run. I ran into one of our callers
It's
who was
just
awesome. Very sweet, and she did say, little flex here, I changed her entire year.
Aww. But yes,
nice.
if you're in LA, definitely email in and
But
we'll
you know,
see what we
shooting your
can
shot. You
do.
are a married woman here, so just let's set,
I
set
don't
boundaries
mean it like
here.
that, not like
Okay,
that.
I know. I'm just giving you a hard time. Absolutely, I'm sure we can, you know, make something work out. So keep in touch with Rochelle.
Awesome.
But thanks so much for your time and thank you for calling in.
Thank you guys so much for the advice.
All right, take care.
Bye.
I honestly don't know what you
I
were
just-
trying to say.
You don't?
This last call?
I just can't believe that the advice is like, just go home to your parents.
No,
they
I
love
get
you.
it.
That's not in any way what we were saying.
A nice car when you're 20. It's like, don't have a car.
And I love that opinion, but she is like going through chemo and like she's a sick girl. Yes, she noted that she's in remission. I just know that sometimes it's truly not an option to just go home because your parents will love you and like go home and be judged and be berated by the people who do love you. I just don't think going home to your parents is like the general advice that you should give people.
That wasn't the advice.
The man is saying like, oh, I don't want to, you're the last person I want to have sex with. Of course, she's in a terrible relationship. It sounds awful. So empower yourself in that to, if you need to. She's not calling and saying like, I have an option to go home. That clearly didn't sound like an option to me at any point. So saying like, okay.
What she said was, I feel like I don't have a lot of options. And we were just vetting it out
Which
and
I
talking
loved
through
and
with her that she probably has some options. Again,
Even
we
a
don't know.
GoFundMe
We don't know what
I
her
love that option.
we don't necessarily know what her family is like, but it's safe to assume that a lot of 20-year-olds complain. Like, again, Rochelle is a perfect example. She talks about her family.
Yeah.
I talk about my family. Just because you get mad at your parents, or you have like a tough time with them, doesn't mean they're still not your loving parents. That might not be your situation.
But
I
again,
don't know.
I had to move home and then I had to work my butt off to be able to move out as soon as I could.
But here's a situation where a young woman
But
who got married at 19 got married and feels stuck in a relationship. And she said that multiple times. I feel trapped. I feel stuck. I don't know what to do, blah, 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 blah. And that was the biggest takeaway, is letting her know that she doesn't need to feel stuck and trying to. Sometimes when you feel stuck, you need just to hear the options you have. Doesn't mean any of these options that were being said are the right ones. It's just knowing that she has some options. You're getting hung up that we suggested that maybe moving back home was an option.
I'm hung up on the fact that you're just like immediately like, they love you. That's the better option. That's the better option.
You go back and play the tape. No one said that. Your family, yes, your family. I guarantee you, in her own way, whether she's doing a good job or not, her mother loves her. I mean, mothers all the time with their daughters through what they think
You
you're calling
cannot
love.
guarantee that a mother loves their child. You can't.
Okay, fine, whatever. I mean, Rochelle, do you think your mom loves you?
I mean, I do, but to Shug's point, I do think there are some. I have some friends who had to cut their moms out of their lives.
That might
they
be
were
true.
So toxic, yeah.
There's a difference between a mom thinking she loves her daughter and being toxic. There don't have to be. That can happen. My mom and my grandma
I do
had
think my mom loves me a lot.
My mom and her mom, my grandma, their relationship, while great now, whew, man.
Oh yeah.
You know, like
Okay, but is it healthy
my mom had to go to therapy
to be
at time?
around or in the home of somebody who thinks
That's
you're going
a whole
to hell
nother
all
conversation.
the time?
I literally just said, listen, that is an option. And sometimes she's 20 years old. And sometimes young people have a way.
Yes.
It's not always the
Even
parents'
old people.
fault either, right? We always want
Yeah.
to shit on our parents for saying things that we don't like.
Totally.
And, for all the criticism, like, and, I feel like we're shitting on parents. Young people don't like what their parents say all the time. Is the pink hair comment burning hell? Okay, no.
Yeah.
But I'm just simply reminding a young person who's 20 years old that maybe because all I'm saying is we don't know. Maybe her family, it's just a bunch of like slightly judgy parents who are super religious and they don't make her feel great. Fine. I would rather live in that house that are still her loving parents. Let's assume that's the worst of it, right? I'd rather have her realize that maybe this guy who's like also saying, I'd rather do anything than have sex with you, and then get out of a toxic relationship that is someone she's only known for a year and a half and realize she has a whole life to live and then move out in 6 months when she's financially on her feet. I mean, like, I don't want to paint this picture that like, I feel comfortable saying that majority of families, even whether you get along with them all the time, are a better option than a toxic relationship. But yeah, anyways.
Yeah, obviously I agree with that.
Again, this was more about options and letting her
Yes,
know.
Don't feel
and I
stuck.
totally agree with that.
Don't feel stuck, especially because of a nice car. That's not
That-
the reason.
yeah,
to stay.
That's not, guys. Oh my God.
No, I
It's
think you're
so much deeper. The girl, like, almost, I don't know. She's so sick. Medical bills are insane. Like, she is facing some real fucking issues.
no one's saying
And there
she's
are
not.
so many, but just being flippant and being like, don't stay for a nice car, I find it frustrating because her decisions are so much bigger and harder than that.
This is about having insurance. Again, we're just saying that there's other ways. She said she takes care of me. I'm under his insurance. Fine. She didn't say that like they're so stacked up and there's no way. She did not say in any way there's no way that I can't like pay without him. There's no way. She was just like, I feel stuck. And she might have insurance in another place. Like, this is about letting a young person know who's faced a bunch of challenges to not let that make her feel stuck, because I can totally see why someone in her shoes, if stuck or not, would feel stuck. That's all I'm saying.
100%.
And she has people can spend 10 years of their life staying in a situation they feel stuck, but maybe they're not.
Yes.
And I want to see her explore other opportunities.
Right.
And she needs options.
I agree. And there are options. And I love that message. And I think that's so very true.
Wow.
I mean,
Wow.
I've taken a whole bunch of deep breaths and
Let's
I
all
feel
hold
good.
hands.
Let's all hold
Here
hands.
we are.
Sugar and I are going to go argue in the car now.
We sure are. We're going to fight all the way
What
home.
a dynamic first episode.
I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like we talked about in the opening, we don't always agree, but I do think sometimes, for my biggest point too, is it's giving people options. And sometimes, again, in arguments, we will say we can get sometimes in the weeds of things. We get hung up on certain things in a bigger argument in terms of, I know Sugar and I talked about this whole, families and whether they're always the first choice. No one's necessarily saying that, but sometimes the bigger picture of just finding things out and exploring things, we can always be better, but asking more questions. So, because it's funny, a lot of times I will say our questions we get from fans, they have their story.
Right.
Hey, this happened. This is what I want to talk about.
And that's the story they're telling themselves.
And that's the story
too.
they're telling themselves. There's always at least one nugget that's going on underneath.
Nick loves his nuggets.
But I honestly, if I could have like 30 minutes of asking questions, I would with them just to really figure it out.
Right.
So sometimes we try to get to the answers, maybe even too soon. But if you're out there and you're communicating with your friends and your friends come to you with problems, start asking them more questions before you answer it.
Do you think there's any themes from the calls today?
Women, it is not your job to get guys off.
Yeah.
That's a theme. It's great. We appreciate it.
Put in the effort, but
we appreciate the effort. Not your job. And if a guy says not tonight is not the night, that's fine. Don't make him feel like you did something wrong. It's not necessarily you. You don't have to make it into a fight.
No. Go have a sandwich. Do something else fun.
But, we all like a good climax.
Don't give up on love. That was
Don't
a good
give up on
message.
love.
Don't give up on
That's a
love.
good
Also,
message.
but maybe, well, actually our last caller, don't give up on love. But also know when.
On finding love. I mean that
Don't give up on finding love.
No matter how old you are, no matter what you've been through.
Yeah. Listen, if you find your great love at 50, hopefully you have 30, 40 more years. And that's a, good 20, 30-year relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And nowadays, how many people could say they have a 20, 30-year happy relationship? That might just
very
start
true.
later in life.
Yeah. And, it's just so important that you fall in love with yourself first. So sometimes that takes a really long time, and that's A-okay too.
Anyways, thanks, guys, for joining the Viall Files and questions with Nick or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Format. We're formatting this. We'll just be
The Questions with Nick spinoff of the Viall Files.
We have a great episode coming up with my dear friend Amanda Staton.
Oh, this is a good one.
Great little
She spills some tea.
great little dating nuggets. We talk about our time on the show together, our friendship outside the show, being a single mom. She's got a new book out, but it's just a fun conversation.
She was really open. I was like, yes, girl.
I can't wait to listen.
It'll be the last episode of a guest with questions because we recorded this a couple weeks ago.
And if you have questions, email us.
Email us, send them in. We can read them. We can talk about them.
Ask Nick at castmedia.com, ASKNICK at KASTMEDIA.com.
The show is only as good as your questions. No pressure.
No pressure.
As always, feel free to rate us 5 stars on iTunes. We could use some more 5 stars, I feel like. Not to pander and beg, but yeah. Also, like, I'm just waiting for the people like, why did they change it? People don't like change.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just waiting for you guys. Some of you, like, you can write it. Don't give us like 2 stars because of it.
Just look at it as an elevation. You just get more of what you like.
Change is good, but it always feels a little uncomfortable at first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyways, have a great week. We will see you on Wednesday. It's been another episode.
Yee.
Viall Files.